Hey guys, what's up? It's Kate. So this is my second time sitting down to film this video. I filmed it once and I didn't think that I went into enough detail. I really want to give you guys a long, well thought out, well put video. So today we're going to be talking about the yogurt shop murders that occurred in Austin, Texas in December of 1991, and these are absolutely horrific. These murders, I'm going to be describing them and going into detail, so if you are squeamish to that sort of thing, if you're sensitive to it, if you're sensitive to the topic of sexual assault, this video may not be for you. If you are under the age of... Basically, if your parents don't let you watch Investigation Discovery on TV, you probably shouldn't be watching this. I realize that I've been taking a break sort of from true crime and conspiracy, and that's just kind of because I study this stuff. Like, when I say that I live and I breathe this type of thing, I truly do. That's what I watch whenever I watch TV. That's what I study, that's what I read about, that I immerse myself in it. And so that leads to periods of time where I am just completely paranoid, to be quite honest with you guys, and that was kind of the mood that I was getting in there for a little while. I was getting way too paranoid about things, so that's kind of why I took a step back, did a few makeup type things. I obviously did the TanaCon vlogs, and so yeah, I kind of needed to take a step back. And because I wasn't watching that sort of thing constantly, you know, on TV or on YouTube or whatever, I wasn't getting any ideas. Nothing was really popping out at me, because as you guys know, I like to cover cases that aren't as well known. I'm not gonna cover JonBenet Ramsey or Ted Bundy or anything like that. I'm gonna talk about things that are lesser known. To me, that's more interesting, and I feel like that is what, you know, cases like this deserve to be put in the spotlight, because especially with this case that we're about to talk about, the killers are still at large after years and years and years, and they have DNA evidence, so it's super important that people know about it and talk about it and don't just let it die, kind of. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, is the 1991 yogurt shop murders. So it's December 6th, it's almost midnight, and a police officer drives by I can't believe it's yogurt shop in a strip mall in Austin, Texas, and notices that it is on fire. So after they put the fire out, they go inside and they come across a scene that the lead detective described as wholesale carnage. It was absolutely horrific. There were 3 bodies stacked on top of each other and one laying off to the side, and they were obviously very badly burned. It's it said that they were so badly burned that their flesh was actually burned into the, I can't pronounce this word, but macabre or something, into the walls. So that was... One of the girls was sexually assaulted. It was actually the youngest victim, which makes it even worse. They all died from gunshot wounds, and the youngest girl who was sexually assaulted was shot more than anybody else. She was shot twice, which is just so this was also a robbery. It was arson, robbery, murder. It was everything rolled into one, and apparently you can go to Austin, Texas, and all you have to say is the words yogurt shop and everybody already knows what you're talking about, because it's still so prevalent in daily life in Austin, Texas. The 4 victims were 17-year-old Eliza Thomas, who worked at the yogurt shop. She worked the late shift. Her friend Jennifer Harbinson, who was 17 years old, and then Jennifer's younger sister Sarah, who was 15, and then Amy Ayers, who was 13. So Eliza worked the late shift, and then I've heard that See, I've heard that Jennifer did, but then I've also heard that Jennifer brought her sister and then her sister's friend Amy in to just like hang out and wait for Eliza to get off. So that's kind of conflicting, but either way, they were all four there. The younger girls obviously did not work there at all, and they were just kind of waiting for the yogurt shop to close up so they could probably go and like hang out and, you know, just be normal teenage girls. But clearly that's not how it went down. So I've already described the details of the crime. There were 4 initial suspects, and they were all teenagers as well. So there was Robert Springsteen, Michael Scott, Maurice Pierce, and Forrest Wellborn, and they were all teens. And one of them had gotten in trouble either that night, I think it was that night, for having a gun inside of a shopping mall. So they were just really suspicious. 2 of them ended up confessing. So there was Maurice Pierce and Robert Springsteen ended up confessing. The other 2 were completely let go. So the murders happened in 1991, and in 1999 they were charged and then convicted of the murders, and it was just Maurice Pierce and Robert Springsteen that were convicted. So the other 2 were let off. I think that they took some sort of plea where they kind of like ratted out the other 2 or gave them more like testimony so that they could get convicted, so they got off. And Robert Springsteen even went as far as to say that he was the one who sexually assaulted Amy Ayers. And their confessions were very... I've listened to it, and like Maurice Pierce was kind of like, oh, I pulled the trigger, I closed my eyes and pulled the trigger, and I think I heard 5 shots total. And it's just, it was argued later on that their confessions were very much coerced. And a lot of times, this is actually very fascinating. If you guys have seen my video on the West Memphis 3, I don't know how in depth I got into it, but a coerced confession is actually like a lot more common and a lot easier to obtain than you would think. You would think, why would someone confess to a crime that they did not commit? Which is obviously a very good question, but it happens all the time because when you have people a lot of times with lower IQs in a situation like that, they just want to alleviate that pressure that's on them currently. They want to do whatever they possibly can do to get whoever is hassling them off of their back, and they want to please that person as well. So they don't want to just say, I didn't do this, get off my back. They want to say what they think they want to hear. So the police officers obviously want to catch whoever did this, so they obviously want to hear that they are interrogating currently the people who committed the crime, and so they're going to admit that it was them so that that pressure is alleviated. And I know that that really doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people, because you're like, oh, well, if I was in that situation, I would never do that, da-da-da-da-da, but you never really know until you're actually in that sort of a situation, unfortunately, and it does happen a lot. Actually, 50 people confessed to this crime who were proven to have not committed it. So it happens a lot, and like I said, just in this case alone, 50 people falsely confessed. So it's actually a really, really interesting thing to get into and to think about. And a police officer, you automatically think that maybe they're being really, really mean or really, really harsh to someone whenever they're like coercing a confession, or you hear that a police officer coerced a confession. But honestly, it can just be any amount of pressure put on a person in that right type of mindset to get them to confess. So you never know. It happened with the West Memphis 3 with Jesse Miss Kelly Jr. Again, if you haven't seen that video, that's in my true crime playlist. It was the first video I ever did. But yeah, it does happen a lot, and unfortunately it was proven to have happened in this case because 10 years later both of the men were set free. They were exonerated based on DNA evidence. So there was DNA found on Amy Ayers. It was an unidentified male's DNA, and they ran the tests against these two men. Neither of them matched. Remember, Robert Springsteen said that he was the one who sexually assaulted her, but his DNA did not match that was found on Amy Ayers, right? So it wasn't him. That's how they found out that the other 50 false confessions were in fact false, because of DNA evidence. And it took that long because it took that long for technology to progress so that they could figure that out. So yeah, both men were set free, and here we are 18 years later total, and case still isn't solved. I mean, it's longer than that. It's been longer than 18 years now. I just mean as of this point in time of them being let out of prison, it's been 18 years, and now they're right back at square one. They have no suspects whatsoever, and that is the real tragedy of this. I think that in this situation especially, there was probably a little bit of tunnel vision going on, because obviously when you have 4 girls ripped away from their families so tragically and so violently, and you're a police officer and you walk into a scene like that and it's described as wholesale carnage, it's just literally the most horrific thing you've ever seen in your life, you want to put away whoever did it as soon as possible. And unfortunately that can lead to tunnel vision a lot of times, which is so it's just sad all the way around, because here these guys they just lost how many years of their lives, and they can never get it back, and obviously these girls can never get their lives back. So you have 2 sets of people whose lives have been permanently damaged and then temporarily damaged, and for what? You know, the people who did this are still at large. There was an ex-cop, I think it was an ex-cop, it's some form of ex-law enforcement or ex-military that was in the yogurt shop that evening, and he noticed a very suspicious man that was there. He was able to give a very, very good description. If I can find the sketch somewhere online, I'll put it up here for you guys to see. But since he, you know, was ex-law enforcement, he knew how to he was very good at observing details and was able to give a very, very detailed description to the police. He said he was just very, very suspicious. He didn't order anything besides a soda, and it was a yogurt shop. And he just sat there for like ever just drinking this soda. And then later on in the evening, right around closing time, there was another woman who noticed the same man, this time he had another person join him, another man join him, and he just got a soda as well. So they were there for a very, very long time, and then when they went into the yogurt shop, all the chairs were put up on top of the tables, because like closing, I'm assuming she probably, if it's like the place I work at, you have to put the chairs up so you can sweep and mop and everything, and the only chairs that were not put up were the ones where the 2 men were spotted sitting. So that's that. I mean, I would say that that's pretty likely suspects, and it's just so sad that now I bet, you know, enough time has passed that appearances could be altered so drastically that there may be no way to, you know, find out who this was, which is why the tunnel vision is so beyond tragic, because if this lead would have been followed super closely, the people who actually did this might be behind bars. And so yeah, if I can find the sketch, I'll of course put it in here, because it's super important to circulate. Again, years and years have gone by, so appearances could be drastically altered, but it's still worth a shot and it's still worth trying, and whoever did this probably wasn't their first or their last time doing it. Something this horrific doesn't just happen once unless the person's caught or dead or in jail for a different crime. So hopefully this person or these people are brought to justice. Personally, I think it had to have been more than one person, because to subdue 4 girls, I think that takes, I mean, I know if you have a gun, you could subdue that many people, but I don't know, I just feel like there had to have been more than one person. That's just my opinion. So that was the yogurt shop murders. Like I told you guys, this was very, very brutal and horrific, and I mean absolutely no disrespect to the families of any of these victims. I just compiled things that I found on the internet and am talking about it right now. If I in any way gave any form of misinformation, please correct me in the comments. I am not perfect and I try to do the best research possible, but sometimes, you know, you don't get every single detail correct. So if I didn't, please feel free to correct me down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am very happy to be out of my little funk and be back, and I will definitely be looking into more things to talk about. As far as conspiracies, leave me some conspiracies down below, because I don't know, like there's basic conspiracies like 9/11 and like stuff like that, but I want to talk about something that's kind of like with my true crime. I want to talk about something that's not constantly talked about. I want to talk about something that's more, I don't know, taboo, more out there. I mean, conspiracy theories are already taboo, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so just let me know down below. Please like this video if you liked it, of course, and subscribe to my channel. Hit that little notification bell so that you can know every single time that I upload a new video. I love you guys so much, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.